How's it going, everybody? So we're out in the shop with another Shop Talk Tuesday, and in this episode we are heat treating the Bowie build. Now, because this is 5160, it actually is a pretty simple heat treating process. I've done videos in the past where I talk about the fact that 5160 is probably one of the most forgiving steels to heat treat with like a backyard method to where you don't really have to worry about much. I have done the heat treat process all the way from quenching at 1475 degrees all the way up to 1650. So you can get a relatively hardened blade. You can get something that is usable in a wide range of heat treat processes with this particular steel. Like I said, it is probably one of the most forgiving steels that you could possibly heat treat. But for me, I have a process, I know what that process is going to be, and that's what I tend to do. Now, I'm going to be doing my normalizing cycles with this steel. We're going to do 3 rounds of normalizing. We are going to bring it up to about 1575 to 1600 degrees, and then we're going to let it air cool. Then we're going to bring it back up to about 1525, let it air cool, then we're going to bring it back up to about non-magnetic, so between 1420 to 1450 degrees, and we're going to let it air cool. Those are going to be our normalizing cycles, and once we get done with that, then we're going to bring it up to about 1550, 1575, and then we're going to quench it in 120 degree peanut oil. That is the process of our heat treating, and then we're going to bring it into the shop, we're going to put it in the oven, and we're going to heat it up to about 375 degrees for 2 hours, and that is going to be our tempering cycle. So that is what we have planned for this episode. We need to go ahead, get out into the forge, get it lit up so that we can start normalizing this and doing our heat treat process. So hopefully these videos help y'all out when it comes to heat treating. I know that a lot of y'all want to work with things like 5160, and these are amazing steels to go through and do. I just want to absolutely suggest that if you're going to heat treat a blade that you forged, that you go through and you do your normalizing cycles. We got people who will skip those or only do one of them because they think, well, I just want to get this thing quenched. Don't skip the normalizing cycles. Do all 3, make your life a lot easier. What that does is kind of gets your steel ready for that heat treat process. If you do all the forging where you're mashing everything around in there, all the structure inside your steel, you're bending it, flexing it, crushing it, heating it up, cooling it down, all these different things, it puts a lot of stresses inside your steel. That normalizing process relieves all those stresses, get everything back in line so that whenever you do go through and quench your steel, it pulls everything to where it needs to be and you have a nice grain structure. So don't skip those steps. Let's get out there, let's get that forge warmed up, let's get some normalizing done. As you can see here, I did put a piece of angle iron inside the forge to act as a baffle to disperse the heat around the forge so I didn't have that flame directly on the blade, creating an unnecessary hot spot. You want to make sure that your blade is heated evenly, especially during these normalizing cycles, so that the normalizing cycles can do what they need to do. Now, I brought it up to 1550 degrees for this first part, and then let it air cool on my hook and block, which just happened to be a little bit underweighted for this size of knife. So I did have to mess with this a little bit too much each time I did these normalizing. Now, other than that, everything else worked how it's supposed to, but the second heat, we did bring it up to right at about 1500 degrees and let it cool in still air. Still air is important because 5160 can air harden a little bit, and you don't want that to happen. So once we did that cycle, brought it up again to 1420 degrees, and then let it air cool. And once those normalizing cycles were done, we did end up bringing it back up to just under 1550 degrees. It was right at that 1550 mark, and then we quenched it in 120 degree peanut oil. And whenever you do this, you do want to agitate it so that it cools how it needs to and you get a nice even quench. Once we did that, we file tested it, and then I took it inside my house and tempered it inside my home oven because it wouldn't fit in my smaller oven that is inside the shop. So once we tempered it, which was at 375 degrees for 2 hours, we were able to start grinding it. And this first grind is just grinding off the decarb layer, getting all of that gone so that we can then start evening out our bevels and getting them exactly where we want them. So once we got the decarb layer ground off, we went back after it with a brand new 36 grit belt and started evening out those grind lines, which are going to create the striations once we do our acid etch and sanding process. That gives us a really cool texture on the bevels. You want to make sure that when you're doing this step that you're taking your time. You're not really pushing the blade into it. You're letting the belt do its job and grind nice and evenly across the bevels. Once we got the bevels done, we went ahead and started working on the false edge or the swedge to create those grind lines on it as well. And I'll tell you, you want to be careful with this because like I said, this is a brand new 36 grit belt. And if you want to attempt this finish, you got to take your time. You got to be very gentle with it. You're doing light pressure because if you accidentally nick this wrong, you're going to be chasing a little blip in your bevels and you're going to end up messing with your grind lines and the way that you want everything to look. And it's not worth it. Just take your time. Once we got that part done, we did go ahead and switch back to one of our regular 36 grit belts that we've been using for a little bit and started grinding in the fuller in the tang. The only reason why I didn't use that same new belt is because I'm really hogging off material right here, and you can use these shredder belts for a long time. And I just wanted to use one that I've been using for a while because we are really grinding into it and hogging off a bunch of material to grind these fullers. Alright guys, so before I get into the outro, I want to tell y'all about something. I was watching another YouTuber and I follow him. He's a smaller channel, but I watch a lot of his videos because I like his content. It's David Moon Forge. If y'all haven't checked him out, y'all definitely should. You know, I give shout outs to different channels, you know, as I go through my experience with YouTube and things like that. If y'all remember the first time I gave a shout out for Aaron from A-Lead Knives, I mean, I think he had like maybe 1,000 subscribers. Now he's like almost where I'm at. And then Dennis Tyrell, I think had a couple of hundred subscribers. And now he's at almost like 60,000 subscribers. So anytime I can do a shout out for a channel, and I'm not saying that I'm the reason why those channels have grown to where they were. I just liked giving shout outs whenever the channels were small. It's absolutely awesome. And those channels have grown with my channel, which is absolutely amazing. Now, David Moon Forge, he is working on 2 kind of short sword builds right now. And, you know, he's doing a ton of forging. There's a ton of work that goes into doing videos like that. And I really want to, you know, I want to show him some love because it takes a lot of work, and whenever you're putting that much work in and you only get 20, 30, maybe 100 views, that's crazy. He deserves way more views than that. So if y'all would, go check out his channel, watch his latest video. I think y'all are going to like it, and I think y'all are going to like these whenever he finishes them out. So, like I said, I'm going to leave it in the description below. I might even put it in the comment section. Go check it out. Guys, where we're at for our build though, we've got our heat treat process done, and I was originally going to just leave this video with the heat treat process, but whenever I started editing it, I thought, man, there's only like 3 minutes of heat treat process in this video, if that. It might not even have been 3 minutes. And I know that Shop Talk Tuesdays are based on me talking, but I didn't want to have a long intro and a long outro and just a little bit of working on something. So I did go ahead and final grind the bevels, the false edge, everything that we have going on in here. Finished everything out so that this part was done. Now, how we achieve the finish that we get with, you know, the knife that we have right here, the chrome Bowie, those striations that are on the blade, how we achieve that is putting in that real rough grind. So taking a 36 grit belt, grinding it in, and leaving the grind lines like that so that when we acid etch it, it intensifies those grind lines, and then whenever we come over and we sand it with that 1000 grit sandpaper, it just takes all of the etching off the high points and leaves us with those cool striations everywhere. So we've got that part done. Now I'm not doing that etching part just yet. I don't want to finish the blade until I actually get the guard kind of figured out, because I'm going to be messing with this a lot and I don't want to have to tape everything up. I want to just be able to handle it and it be fine. So once we get the guard, which we're going to be working on in the next week's Shop Talk Tuesday, all figured out, then I'm going to acid etch it, and then we'll put the guard on, and then we'll work on the handle after that. But we got that all ground in. We got our fullers put into our tang right here so that our weight is kind of, you know, taken down a little bit. It's a very heavy knife, but it's absolutely awesome. It feels amazing in the hand, and I think that the weight is going to be perfect whenever we get done doing the guard and the handle. I think it's going to balance itself out a lot. Now it'll still be a little bit blade heavy, but it's not going to be much heavy on the blade. I think it'll be exactly where it needs to be, but that's where we're at. What do y'all think about that? Guys, if you had any cool takeaways from this video, let me know in the comment section down below. Again, go check out David from David Moon Forge. If you haven't yet, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Okay? Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time.